Have you ever actually stopped to think that the very spiritual beliefs meant to bring you peace might secretly be the source of your deepest anxieties? Welcome to The Explainer. I'm your host, and today we are decoding a really fascinating concept: how we can sometimes completely unconsciously choose unhappiness through our faith. We're going to look at exactly how certain spiritual anxieties take root, and more importantly, how to systematically dismantle them using the insights from our source text today. Okay, let's dive right in. To ground us, we are looking at material that explores the psychology of chronic dissatisfaction. Specifically, we're looking at Chapter 5 of Ryuho Okawa's work on the Unhappiness Syndrome. The text outlines how people often fall into these recurring patterns of failure without even realizing it. And what's really compelling is how this applies directly to religion and faith. The author argues that a lot of people approach their spirituality in a way that generates fear rather than actual liberation. So, the core problem we're tackling today is this unhappiness syndrome. It's defined as a pattern where individuals allow external supernatural fears to completely strip away their personal empowerment. Instead of faith being this amazing tool for growth, it becomes a cage of anxiety. The source material argues that true spiritual teaching should absolutely empower you, not leave you paralyzed by the unknown. To help us break free, the text targets four specific fears: preparing for the afterlife, navigating mixed faith marriages, rejecting negative fortune telling, and rethinking ancestor memorials. Starting with Pillar 1, preparing for the afterlife, and moving from fear to righteous effort. The source material absolutely acknowledges that the afterlife is a reality, but it firmly advises against letting the fear of the unknown cloud your present reality. It's incredibly easy to become obsessed with what happens after we die. We've all wondered about it, right? But the author argues that this focus is entirely misplaced. Instead of agonizing over an uncontrollable future, the text shifts our focus entirely to managing our mindset and our actions right here in the present moment. So, how do you actually forge happiness after death? Well, the answer is surprisingly practical. You do it by how you live today. The text emphasizes avoiding a cloudy or negative mind. It requires continuously refining your thoughts, making what the author calls righteous efforts in this world, and importantly, correcting your mistakes through self-reflection. If you make a mistake, just acknowledge it, correct it, and keep moving forward. This continuous self-improvement is presented as the direct key to spiritual happiness, essentially putting the power right back in your hands. Moving on to Pillar 2, navigating mixed faith marriages by leading by honorable example. This section prompts a really fascinating rhetorical question. Must you share a religion to have a successful marriage? If you've ever experienced a tense Thanksgiving dinner over spiritual differences or felt family discord over beliefs, this part of the source material is going to feel incredibly relevant to you. The text draws a pretty stark contrast between two approaches here. The ineffective, anxiety-inducing approach is forcing your partner to convert. The author literally notes that trying to force a spouse to adopt your beliefs without their genuine understanding can actually turn a home into a hellish environment. Nobody wants that. On the flip side is the recommended empowering approach, focusing on deepening your marital bonds and living an honorable life yourself. The idea is that true faith should make you a better, more loving partner first. The source material grounds this in sheer practicality. It states that it typically takes about 2 to 3 years of consistently living an honorable, loving life to naturally change a spouse's perspective. You don't win them over with arguments or ultimatums. You win them over by demonstrating the positive, tangible effects of your faith in your daily life over a span of years. All right, Pillar 3, rejecting negative fortune telling to forge your own destiny. The text absolutely does not pull any punches here. The majority of fortune tellers tend to be prophets of unhappiness. It's quite a statement. The author observes this ironic psychological trap where people who are already anxious about the future and seeking peace actively seek out predictions. But because human life inevitably includes illness and interpersonal trouble, fortune tellers often just highlight these negative events. This fear-based prediction traps people. They receive a negative suggestion and inadvertently start walking right toward that very failure. So how do we break out of that trap? The text offers proactive steps to override bad prophecies, and they are wonderfully empowering. First, absolutely acknowledge that destiny is not fixed. You have agency. From there, routinely correct your own mistakes, live with a mind of love for others, and actively look for the good in people. By adopting this constructive mindset, the source material argues you take absolute control of your life's trajectory, rendering any negative fortune-telling completely powerless over you. At our final pillar, rethinking ancestor memorials, viewing prosperity as the truest tribute. Take a look at this bold, straightforward rule from the text. Do not blame ancestors for your misfortune. The author forcefully challenges the myth that unseen ancestors are just actively trying to harm their living descendants because they haven't been adequately memorialized. In fact, the source points out that blaming an ancestor from 4 or more generations ago for your modern day problems is a common, entirely misguided spiritual trap. It's actually often used as a manipulative tactic by certain religious businesses to sell memorial services. The author reasons pretty logically here. What great grandparent, sitting comfortably in the afterlife, would actually want to curse their own descendants with a flat tire, a bad back, or financial ruin? The true nature of an ancestor is to wish for the absolute prosperity of their lineage. So, what is the right way to honor them? The truest form of memorial requires no fear-based rituals whatsoever. Step 1, correct your own mind and daily actions. Step 2, build a harmonious and loving family. And step 3, demonstrate a prosperous, bright life. The text states that when ancestors see their descendants living vibrantly and correctly, it brings them peace and even helps elevate them in the spiritual realm. Your prosperity is the ultimate tribute. Let's synthesize all of this into our final takeaway: empowering your spiritual destiny. The overarching narrative becomes crystal clear. On one side is the Unhappiness Syndrome, a life ruled by anxiety over the afterlife, strange relationships over dogma, fear of fortune tellers, and supernatural blame. But on the other side is the liberated reality the text advocates, the empowerment pattern. It's entirely about taking ownership of your life through self-reflection, love, and righteous earthly action. It shifts the center of spiritual gravity right back into your own heart and your daily choices. Which brings us to our final question for you to ponder today. Are you unconsciously letting fear dictate your faith? And how will you take control of your spiritual mindset starting right now? Remember, true spiritual understanding shouldn't be a source of anxiety. It should be a framework that empowers you to build a brighter, more constructive life. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I look forward to exploring more fascinating concepts with you next time.